Tamam panda, Hebsini tek parka, Kesintises, Akichi viusenber belgasul metni halan variorum. Direct copiala yapictor yapabalusixen. Niccolò Machiavelli was born in 1469 in Florence, during the height of the Renaissance. It was an era of artistic brilliance and intellectual awakening. But politically, it was ruthless and unstable. Italy was not yet a unified country. Instead, it was divided into powerful and competing city-states such as Florence, Venice, Milan, and the Papal States. Wars, conspiracies, betrayals, and shifting alliances were not rare events. They were the norm. Power shifted quickly, loyalty was fragile, and survival depended on strategy rather than morality. At a young age, Machiavelli entered public service in the Florentine Republic. He worked as a diplomat and traveled across Europe, meeting influential rulers and observing power at its highest levels. He negotiated with the King of France, engaged with the papacy, and closely studied the ambitious and feared military leader Cesare Borgia. Through these experiences, Machiavelli witnessed politics not as an idealistic system guided by virtue, but as a constant struggle for dominance and survival. He saw leaders rise and fall, alliances collapse overnight, and promises broken when they no longer served political interests. In 1512, the powerful Medici family regained control of Florence. Machiavelli was dismissed from office, accused of conspiracy, imprisoned, and subjected to torture. After his release, he was exiled from political life. Stripped of power and influence, he retreated to the countryside. It was during this period of isolation that he wrote his most famous and controversial work, Il Principe, known in English as The Prince. The Prince was not a moral handbook. It was not a philosophical dream about justice or virtue. Instead, it was a practical manual on how to gain, maintain, and secure political power. Machiavelli argued that people are often ungrateful, inconsistent, deceptive, and motivated by self-interest. A ruler who depends entirely on kindness or goodwill, he warned, risks losing control. Stability requires strength, authority requires decisiveness, and sometimes survival requires actions that may not appear morally pure. One of Machiavelli's most famous statements argues that it is best for a ruler to be both loved and feared. But if one must choose, it is safer to be feared than loved. This idea shocked many readers and continues to provoke debate today. To some, it sounded like a defense of cruelty. But Machiavelli's reasoning was pragmatic. Love is dependent on loyalty and emotion, both of which can change quickly. Fear, when controlled and not excessive, is more stable and predictable. His focus was not on promoting violence, but on preserving order. Machiavelli's ideas directly challenged the political philosophy of the Middle Ages. For centuries, politics had been deeply intertwined with religion. Rulers were considered divinely appointed, and moral virtue was presented as the foundation of leadership. Machiavelli broke from this tradition. He separated politics from theology and moral idealism. He suggested that the survival of the state could justify actions that traditional morality might condemn. The secular and realistic approach made him controversial and dangerous in the eyes of many. When The Prince was published in 1532, it sparked immediate debate throughout Europe. Some intellectuals were fascinated, others were outraged. The Catholic Church eventually placed it on the index of prohibited books. Over time, the word Machiavellian entered common language, describing manipulation, deception, and ruthless ambition. His name became synonymous with political cunning. However, reducing Machiavelli to a symbol of cruelty oversimplifies his philosophy. In another major work, Discourses on Livy, he praised republican systems and citizen participation. He believed that structured political conflict within a republic could strengthen institutions. This reveals that Machiavelli was not merely advocating tyranny. He was studying how power functions across different systems. His thinking was more complex than the stereotype suggests. A key concept in Machiavelli's philosophy is the relationship between virtue and fortuna. Virtue, in his understanding, did not mean moral virtue. It referred to strength, skill, courage, decisiveness, and the ability to shape events. Fortuna represented luck, chance, and unpredictable circumstances. Machiavelli believed that while fortune controls part of human life, Bold and capable leaders can influence outcomes through action and preparation. Fate may create opportunities, but only strength can seize them, despite the controversy. Machiavelli did not see himself as immoral. He considered himself a patriot who wanted to see Italy unified and strong. During his lifetime, foreign powers such as France and Spain repeatedly invaded Italian territories. Internal divisions and weak leadership left the region vulnerable. Some historians argue that the prince was not simply a guide for rulers, but a desperate appeal for strong leadership capable of stabilizing and unifying Italy. Machiavelli wrote during an era of extreme instability. Governments collapsed rapidly. Leaders were betrayed. Political survival was uncertain. In such an environment, idealism could be dangerous. Machiavelli's realism was born not from cynicism, but from observation. He studied history as a laboratory of power, analyzing why leaders failed and how states collapsed. Another controversial element of his philosophy concerns appearances. Machiavelli argued that a ruler should appear merciful, faithful, humane, religious, and upright, but must be prepared to act against those virtues when necessary. Politics, he understood, operates heavily in the realm of perception. Public image builds legitimacy, and legitimacy sustains authority. This insight remains relevant in modern politics, where image, media, and public narrative shape power. Centuries later, scholars began to reassess Machiavelli. Rather than condemning him as evil, many recognize his intellectual honesty. He did not invent manipulation or ambition. He observed them. He did not corrupt politics. He described its mechanisms. By removing idealistic illusions, he laid the foundations for modern political science and political realism. Today, his influence can be seen in international relations theory, where states are assumed to act primarily in pursuit of survival and strategic interests. Alliances are often formed not out of shared moral values, but out of necessity. Governments make difficult decisions in the name of stability and national security. These patterns reflect Machiavellian logic, the prioritization of order and power over abstract virtue. The central moral tension in Machiavelli's thought remains unresolved. If maintaining stability requires harsh decisions, how far can a leader go before crossing into tyranny? If fear is more reliable than love, does that justify its use? Machiavelli did not provide simple moral comfort. Instead, he confronted readers with uncomfortable questions about leadership, power, and human nature. More than 5 centuries after his death, Machiavelli continues to provoke debate. Was he the teacher of tyrants or the first realist of modern politics? Was he advocating cruelty or warning leaders about the dangers of weakness? Perhaps his enduring legacy lies in his clarity. He forced political thought to confront reality without illusion. As long as power exists, as long as leaders seek authority, and as long as human nature remains complex,